So, Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, the Tories' answer to Frank Spencer, has been putting it out there that kids mustn't get carried away when they return to school in order to be able to return to normal, get their education and not provoke another COVID surge. Has he ever met a child? This is buck passing on an industrial scale by Gavin Williamson. If COVID cases rise, then it'll be the kids' fault, according to him. Nothing to do with the fact he has removed all mitigations in schools ahead of their return, despite still being in the grip of the pandemic, still being Plague Island, and cases on the rise around the country. 300 under-18s are getting hospitalised each week. 14,000 kids are getting infected daily. Thousands developing long COVID with little understanding right now as to the long-term consequences of developing this additional complication. And schools have been closed for 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks that the government could have been implementing ventilation measures, air scrubbing measures, all ahead of the kids returning to school. They could reintroduce mask wearing, social distancing, but no, we're back to the whole hand washing routine again, once more skirting over the fact this is an airborne virus. And with the more infectious Delta variant now dominant, this is an even greater issue than it was before. The biggest hand-washing exercise is the Tories washing their hands of this issue, to our detriment. Williamson has also laid the blame at the feet of parents if they send kids in ill. Well, the tests we do at home are not particularly accurate anyway, so relying on them is asking for trouble, full stop. But besides that, if kids have to be kept at home and families have to isolate again, what financial support is there going to be to help people stay at home? Your government is removing it all. There's no more shielding. Furlough is due to end at the end of September. It has already been reduced. No more additional measures for the immunosuppressed. No special measures or support for those most vulnerable. No more contact tracing, no bubbles, no isolation for close contacts. You'll literally be better informed if there's an outbreak of nits in a class than a case of COVID. There's a complete abdication of responsibility for this pandemic in government right now. The ONS is reporting that 1 in 40 school-aged children are already infected. Mask wearing and social distancing should never have been rolled back on. We've seen 160,000 people in this country die since the pandemic began, and still it doesn't seem to be enough for the Tories. Johnson has decided 1,000 deaths a week is a price worth paying, and with Delta infecting younger people more readily, we're already seeing this demographic driving infection, and yes, we've had 2 individuals in the age 10 to 19 bracket tragically die of COVID in the last week. Other countries are vaccinating over 12s. The Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation is still dragging its feet over this. They're still not committed to offering a second jab to 16 and 17-year-olds, which I've still seen no evidence to support, given we've all known from the start these vaccines are given over 2 shots. But the fact remains, we've a government still set on herd immunity rather than zero COVID, still believing it's better to try and live with this virus rather than invest in ventilation and vaccination in the biggest vectors of transmission we have, our schools. Given they're already pushing blame onto others, they know what is going to unfold. I mentioned Johnson's 1,000 deaths a week before, but with English schools still to open, we've seen over the last 7 days there have been 805 deaths. We're already nearly at that point. The schools reopening without any mitigations, I don't contemplate how bad things are going to get this time around. We're far, far worse now than we were this time a year ago. Now, talk in recent days has already turned to the need for vaccine boosters because we know on their own the vaccines are not enough. They aren't 100%, and with each variant that pops up, another variant of Delta has been identified off the back of the recent Boardmasters Festival in Newquay, for example. The vaccines become less effective at blocking transmission and preventing serious illness. Yet we're now being advised if we're double jabbed, we don't need to isolate at all. When this all blows up again over the course of the next month, which it's going to, do not let the government get away with blaming others, with blaming you or blaming your kids. They want to move on and get back to normal, but without dealing with COVID properly, as other nations have done, as they refuse to do, without a proper plan for zero COVID, we're never going to be able to return to normal because we cannot live with this virus that is changing so quickly. We'll be playing catch-up permanently as it continues to evolve, locking down every few months, our kids' education being messed around, our careers and jobs being screwed up, and still, no, it will not be our fault or our kids. The blame must sit squarely with the Tories and their full-out refusal to do what they need to do and put people before profit.